So today I have some pork loin center chops, and I'm going to be seasoning them so that they can be marinated. So I'm just going to be doing this the day before that I'm actually ready to cook my pork loin center chops, okay? So what I'm doing is just placing them in my pan where I'm going to be washing them thoroughly. And so what I want to do is to add some cold water to my pan. Then I'm just going to be using one whole lime to wash it thoroughly. So I'm just washing my chops thoroughly before I season them. And then I'm just going to get rid of this water. I'm just going to be squeezing the remainder of my lime juice over them so that they're adequately cleaned. Now that I'm done washing, the idea is to place them on my cutting board and prepare them for seasoning. So here I have some jerk seasoning, and I also have some ground ginger that's best for pork. So while my pork are there, I just want to properly dry them first with my napkin before applying my seasoning, just so that they're really dry. Okay. Then I'm going to be adding my salt. On both sides, of course, because I want my meat to be well seasoned. I'm also going to be adding some pepper. And of course, both sides, as I said, is good. So I'll just rub this in. Now my ground ginger. You can't have pork without ginger, so I'm just adding some ginger. And I said it was ground ginger, right? So I'm just going to be using all of that. Then lastly, my jerk seasoning. Perfect. Okay. So my next step is to get a glass pan, and I'm just going to be placing them inside, and I'm going to be marinating these overnight in my refrigerator before I'm ready for them. But before I do so, you need Grace browning, and this is basically caramel. So what I'm going to be doing is just to add a little to my pork chops, just to give it a little more brown color. So then I'm just going to be brushing that in to my pork chops. All right. Alright, I'm just brushing that into my pork chops. So I'm just going to be doing two sides from the portion that I have because I don't want them to be too dark. I just need it to have a little color. Okay? So not too much browning. Alright? Place them into the refrigerator overnight. Just be sure to cover it with a piece of cling wrap or aluminum foil. That pretty much sums up the seasoning process. I'm just going to be covering it with cling wrap really tight, and then I'll be placing this in my refrigerator overnight. Then we start the cooking process, okay? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So our pork chops has been marinated for some hours since last night, and on today's menu we are gonna have mango pineapple pork chops. I'm also going to be doing some kiwa. So the instruction says 1 cup to 2 cups of water. So I'm just going to be adding 1 cup of kiwa. And this is cedar kiwa, by the way. Okay. So there we have 1 cup to 2 cups of water. I'm going to be rinsing my kiwa now, and the instruction says to use a fine strainer to rinse it well, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm just trying to rinse that really well before I place it in my pan. Just making sure that it is properly rinsed as the instruction says. As this is my first time cooking the kiwa, so I want to make sure that I'm following the right instructions. So I suggest you do the same, okay? Rinsed properly, what I'm going to do is to just transfer it from my strainer to my pan. Instruction says we only need 2 cups of water to 1 cup of kiwa. So my kiwa is ready, and all I'm going to be doing is to wait for it to actually absorb all the liquid, which is the water. So I'm just going to cover it and turn it on low heat, which I already did, to 2. Okay. Firstly, I'm going to be browning my pork chops with medium heat. So now I'm going to be checking on my pork chops. So I'm just going to be turning them. Give it a nice little turn, and that looks good. Okay, so since I only want to brown my chops and it's browned on both sides, I'm just going to be taking them out. And then I'll be adding more to my pan. So I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of oil to another pot. And I'm just going to be adding my pork chops to the oil. And I want to add my gravy that I have, okay? So what I'm going to do is to just add a small amount of water. So the instruction says to put it on high heat, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down on low flame and allow the liquid to be absorbed. So now it's on low. Okay, so while the liquid is drying out, I'm going to be using a fork to fluff the quinoa, the kiwa or quinoa, whichever way you pronounce it, okay? Okay, so I have some seasoning ready for my pork chops, and I have some chopped tomatoes here. I also have some green chopped bell pepper, some onions, red bell pepper, green scallion, green onion, and thyme. Okay, so I'm going to be removing my lid. I want to drain that in there. So I'm going to be adding my chopped tomato, my green onions, and my thyme. Also my green bell pepper. Hey, calm down. I'm going to add my onions. And lastly, I'm going to add my red bell peppers. So this I don't want to use too much water. I'm just going to add little bits of water to it until it's really cooked through. Okay. So I'm going to be adding my ketchup. Also, I want to add a little soy sauce to my mix. Just a little. Okay? Just a little soy sauce. And I'm sure by now you see how colorful this looks. And that's just how you want it. Okay. So before I cover, I'm just going to add a red pepper in there. And okay. Then I'm going to recover and wait for my pork chops to cook thoroughly. Two things I want to be working on now that my pork chops are being cooked through. One, my Brussels sprouts, which will go perfect with my kiwa and pork chops. And two is my mango pineapple sauce for the pork chops. So I use 1 cup of the mango punch concentrate and 1 cup of pineapple juice from my pineapple tidbits, and I'm just going to store this for later for garnish. My sauce is beginning to come to a boil, so I'm just going to wait for it to thicken some more, and also for my pork chops to be cooked thoroughly before adding this sauce, which is the finishing touch, by the way. So there's our mango pineapple sauce, and if you look, you'll see how it is thickened. And there's my pork chops. And I'm just going to be retesting my pork chops. And of course, my fork is going through it. Thank you, baby. Okay, so my pork chops is ready for the sauce. So I'm just going to be adding my sauce right now. I'm just pouring the whole thing over my pork chops. And I'm just going to be using my spoon to place that all over my pork chops, right? And I really want my pork chops to absorb that flavor. That gravy is so thick. Yum yum. So I'm just going to wait it out and allow it to simmer some more before I share. If you notice, my Brussels sprouts are brightly green in color. That means that they're sauteed and they're ready. Dinner is served. So we have mango pineapple pork chops, quinoa or kio, and sauteed garlic butter Brussels sprouts. I hope you enjoyed cooking with me today, and I hope that you try this meal with your friends and family as well. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.